Audience, I want you to meet the big werewolf who lives on my porch 2 months out of the year, Marshmallow. He's very cute. I love him.
Hi, hello. Welcome to your weekly werewolf report, and this the year of the werewolf. How you doing? I am doing good. I have been very busy, but I made time for this, even if it's just a little bit of time. I didn't get around to reading a book, finishing a book, but I did watch a movie that I found fun, and I want to talk about it. So, to start off, I want to reminisce a little bit. Do you remember when the SyFy channel used to, I don't know if they still do, honestly, because I don't watch it anymore, but I used to love watching the SyFy original movies that they would make. They were made for TV movies, made specifically for the SyFy channel. And I think their heyday was before, when they still spelled it SyFy like it should look, SCI FI, instead of this weird SyFy thing they've got going on, the rebranding. I hate that, by the way. I hate that SyFy, SYFY. I hate it. But I used to have just a completely wonderful time watching the SyFy original movies back when I was a teenager and a college student. I thought they were lots of fun. And they had a good run, my memory says, up until about 2005, 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. And then something happened where bad movies started being glamorized, I guess, because people like me who like bad movies, who really do enjoy watching a bad movie just for the fun of it, started being decision makers. And I don't think that's a good idea. Like, don't make me a decision maker. Hell no. But, like, the whole channel started taking on this, I call it younger sibling energy. I'm the oldest child, and I have one younger brother and one young half brother. I'm 15 years older than him, though, so it really didn't happen. But my younger brother, he's only 3 years younger than me, so I had a little brother growing up. And little brother energy is a thing where it's, look at me, I'm going to be really obnoxious, I'm going to be really needy. That's kind of what their made for TV movies started being, and I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a big fan of movies that are made to be bad and like, look, we're bad, raise your altars and make, sacrifices to us, love us. I like the more subtle, because the SyFy movies were never great movies. They were always kind of bad, but it was always like a subtle wink. We're not great, but we know it. Enjoy your weekend. That's kind of always, it was a really low-key feel, like we know what we are, but maybe you'll enjoy it anyway. If not, maybe you had a good time. And then they turned into this big, like, we are bad, worship us for that. And I'm not a fan of those movies. And we've talked about a few of those movies on the Ghost Writers podcast, movies that were made to get attention for being bad. I'm not here for it. But the movie I want to talk about today, it is a SyFy original movie made for TV, and it was made in 2010 actually. And if my memory of the timing is right, this came about after the younger sibling energy change happened, but it's a little bit of a throwback to the good old days of the SyFy original movie, and it's called Werewolf Hunter. And look, it's not good. And remember two things. First of all, when it comes to werewolf movies, the bar is in hell. And second of all, I'm easy. When I say I liked a movie, when I say I enjoyed it, you gotta remember, I'm always just happy to be here. I could have a good time at an insurance convention. I would find a way to entertain myself. So just remember that going forward. This movie is not good. There are lots of problems with the storytelling, and the graphics were bad, but I laughed. I wasn't supposed to laugh, but I laughed. And the acting was done competently. Felicia Day. back in her heyday, back when she was at her full power. Where did you go, Felicia Day? Do you just live on social media now? I miss you. She stars in this. I do have one very small criticism of her in this, but she does the thing. She shows up. She's not someone who's phoning it in. She comes and gives her all. And the rest of the cast, there are people in this you're going to recognize if you watch B movies, and actually there were some people who I've seen in previous werewolf movies this year, so it was a good time. So the premise of the movie is Felicia Day, her name is Virginia, and her nickname is Red. Felicia Day famously has red hair, and it's this thing where the storytellers are trying too hard to push the Little Red Riding Hood grew up to be a werewolf hunter narrative, and it's very clumsy and it doesn't work. So she's part of a family where the firstborn daughter of a generation picks up the mantle of Red. That's her nickname. And it's just a coincidence that she has red hair, you guys. And so her nickname among her family is Red, and she brings her fiance home to meet her family. Big, beautiful house out at the end of a long country road, and her fiance calls her Virginia, of course, but when he meets her family and they call her Red, which instead of doing the thing everybody else would naturally do, everybody else is going to see her younger brother calling her Red and go, oh, duh, they're calling her Red because of her hair. No, this fiance keeps kind of push, like, why do they call you Red? Hey, why do you call her Red? Every other person on this planet is going to go, oh, no explanation needed. But they really wanted to have to explain that it's a nickname given to the first daughter of a generation, and it's stupid. I hated it. And we've got some of the old tropes. There are a lot of things in this movie about the hunter aspect of it that you see more in vampire stories, because we always get the vampire hunter. All the way back to Van Helsing, the vampire hunter has always gotten a little more attention than the werewolf hunter. And there are things about it that it reminded me a bit of vampire as opposed to werewolf. But there are werewolves in this. It's a pack, big pack. They start out pretty big at first. And let me tell you, these hunters are effective. But what we get is, because this is an old family institution, this secret of being the werewolf hunters, and it goes back generations to generations, this big house, this beautiful old estate, it's packed full of a lot of really cool old werewolf killing stuff. And if you're gonna do the, we have a family tradition, it goes back generations and generations. I love the thought of just having this old antique stash of silver knives. Silver everything. They've got lots of silver everything. They've got silver paintballs, which is like used to test if a person is a werewolf or not. If it's a person, it doesn't hurt them, but they're going to get pissed. But I mean, they're not getting wounded or anything. And there were things about this that were totally cool. Because it is a sci-fi movie, it does have a lower budget, so we get it's a purely CGI werewolf. And it looks like a cross between the American Werewolf in Paris and the werewolf in the Harry Potter franchise. It's very CGI looking. It's got glowing eyes, and it looks like it has mange, and then the hair that's left is very poofy, and the werewolf is having a hair trauma incident going on right now. And look, it's not my favorite. I would prefer just the guys with the nails and the teeth. But we get the CGI werewolves. They don't look bad. They don't look great, but they don't look bad. I've definitely seen worse. And they move great. They're very aggressive. And for a made-for-TV movie, holy crap, the gore and the bodies left behind after a werewolf attack are great. They're better than some of the stuff I see on movies that weren't made for TV. I lost my train of thought. The story I thought was At times. At times it was predictable. But to be perfectly honest, there was one part I knew was coming. Like, you knew it was coming. They talk about legacies, you know what's coming. But one part I was actually kind of surprised to see, and I thought Felicia Day did a good job. Speaking of, she brought her A game. She did not phone this in. She came to be Felicia Day in a movie. She did a great job, but I will say, despite her run on Supernatural, and I'm not familiar with everything else she's done. I know her from Supernatural and the reboot of Mystery Science Theater 3000, but she's not much of an action star. There's a scene where she and her brothers are looking for the werewolf den, and they're going through this kind of warehouse, and her brothers are, they've got their big guns, and they're doing a lot of this, and they're hunched over their guns, and they're in position, they're squatting and fighting position, and she's got a handgun, and she's just doing her cute little walk with her gun out to the side, and it's like, oh, that's not how that's supposed to look. There are some scenes where that doesn't matter, but in this one scene where they've got the camera on a cart and they're pulling it and they're walking towards the cart, it's just funny seeing the juxtaposition of the two actors really getting into action fighter form, and then Felicia Day just like la 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 walking through a warehouse. We do get a point of view of the werewolves, and the werewolves are just kind of like roundly bad guys. They used to be a pack that had a truce with the Red family. They agreed that they would lock themselves up during the full moon when they can't control their transformations. And in this, they up until we meet the main bad guy, they can't control their transformations. They're people until the full moon, and then they can't help themselves. And their agreement was they would lock themselves up and they wouldn't kill people, and there are certain parameters to where they're allowed to be. And it does seem like it kind of sucks, because if they're like people for most of the month except for this one night and they agree to lock themselves up, why can't they go around? Because they're not in any sort of urban place. It's very rural where they are, and even the surrounding towns, they're very small towns. So that's kind of dicky. But this one werewolf named Gabriel figures out how to change at will, so they're not completely bound by the rules of the lunar cycle like most werewolves are. So he kills the leader who had the truce with the Reds, and he's taking over, and he's trying to beef up his ranks. So they're kidnapping people and turning them. And the way it works in this is you're turned, but you're not fully cursed to be a werewolf forever until you kill a person. You're turned, but you're not cursed. The curse takes effect once you've murdered a human being. Once you've taken a human life, then you're cursed forever. And predictably, someone close to her gets turned, and it's the fight to get him cured before something bad happens. And I won't ruin anything else, but I mean, look, this, again, not a great movie. There were parts with the storytelling that I had issue with. Like they just were pushing the whole Red Riding Hood thing a little too much. Just a little too much. It was very corny, and it was badly handled. But if this movie was on, like if I were just flipping through the channels, does anybody do that anymore? In the age of streaming, do you just flip through channels? I can't remember the last time I did it, to be honest. But if that option were available to me and I were flipping through the channels and I saw this movie was on, I would 100% stop and watch it again. I thought it was fun. I did laugh, and I want to talk about the stuff that I laughed at. Do you ever watch these movies where actors have to act out some sort of thing happening that will later be taken care of and post through effects? And do you ever feel bad for what they have to do? Because there was a couple scenes in this where the actors they have to act out turning into a werewolf before the CGI kind of takes over. So it was, I got secondhand embarrassment watching this, because it was kind of like, rah, it looked like that. And there was one part where, the guy was turning into a werewolf and he was running up on somebody and he was in the process of still changing. And he had his arms up like this and it was rah! And it was so bad. And I got like, I was like, oh no, the bad secondhand embarrassment. Like I felt bad for these actors because can you imagine? I'm not a performer at all. It would horrify me to have to do, like, when I do readings at conventions of my own work, I get really nervous. Like, if you pay attention, you could see my hands shaking as I'm turning the pages. I'm terrified of it. And maybe that's why the thought of being surrounded by a film crew and going, rah! And knowing that later that there's going to be a CGI, like, wolf snout coming out of my face, but still, like, all these people staring at me as I'm just going, rah! And it's terrible. It's stupid, I know. I'm sorry. So, I'm done. That's it. That's all I'm going to talk about this week. I want to thank you for always showing up. I want to thank you for celebrating werewolves with me this year because we're not done. I promise. I'm busy with the, with my Halloween short, and I'm busy with the Buzz Book Expo. Speaking of which, today is Friday, September 8th, but September 9th through 10th this weekend, we put on Mary San Giovanni. It was her idea. Matt Wilderson and we put on what's called the Buzz Book Expo. And what this is it's all done online. You can watch it through YouTube. We allow publishers and other people in the industry to come on and discuss what they put out. And it is mostly horror. We do try to involve dark fiction, dark speculative fiction, but we do end up with mostly horror because that's the people we know. That's our circle, right? But this is for readers, reviewers, and authors. If you're an author and you're looking for a new publisher and you want to know what's up, come watch this. Watch some of our presenters talk about what they do, what the basic feel of their press is, what their basic mission statement is, and they'll talk about their upcoming releases for readers and reviewers. They're going to talk about the books that they're going to be putting out later this year. And we really do. We get some of the greatest people, enthusiastic people who come on. You can tell they love books, they love writing, they love horror, and it's a little bit of a celebration of the genre, but it's also, hey, here's what's going on. So if you have the time, I will put the link to the YouTube channel below. Come check it out. We'd love to see you. So that's all for today. I've got other stuff to do today, but again, I'm happy for you. I appreciate you. Bye.